8 of us at the time, so it wasn't hard to be in the top 10. This was the very start of the contemporary market in fashion, clothing that appealed to young adults who had a sense of style and didn't want to dress like their parents. Celebrities were photographed wearing my designs and were featured in national magazines. My clothing was sold in many of the best stores in the country. A fashion company based in Wisconsin was unheard of. I was 22 years old. Unlike today, being a young person with a startup was unusual. Wanting to express my creativity and make a living doing it was not something that was taught in school. I learned by observing, asking questions, making mistakes, meeting people who were doing what I wanted to do, and people who were simply good, knowledgeable people who were willing to share their experiences with me. I also learned who to trust and who not to trust. Sometimes too late. There were no courses in school that taught how to make a living with your ideas. I was not prepared for the challenges of being creative and running a business. I regularly came to New York to buy fabrics and sell to stores. At first, I found the city overwhelming. Too many people, too much noise, but the more time I spent there, the more I wanted to be there. My backer, a banker, lawyer, and very good man, had financed my business because I created jobs for people in Wisconsin. He told me he would not continue to finance my company if I moved to New York. I had a small savings account, survival money. If I moved, I wouldn't have a job, I didn't know anyone there, and I didn't have a place to live. I was constantly warned about the huge risk I was taking. People asked me if I was afraid of what would happen if I moved. I wasn't. I was afraid of what would happen if I stayed. Money comes and goes. Time only goes. I closed the business and moved to New York. New York exposed me to all sorts of creative people and had an energy that was seductive and expanded my horizons artistically. Through a contact in the fashion business, I worked with Dennis Hopper, Terry Southern, and William Burroughs, who were trying to put together a film based on Burroughs' book Junkie. I realized that film would give me more opportunities to use my storytelling, visual, and collaborative skills. I decided to change careers. An associate of Burroughs introduced me to some people who were starting a video company to shoot fashion shows, which was a new idea at the time. They were intrigued by my fashion experience. I was intrigued by their medium. I taught myself how to light, shoot, and edit. Within a few months, I had segments on all 3 major networks. I then started my own company. My first client was the legendary designer Halston. Over the next 3 decades, I worked with some of the top fashion and beauty brands in the world, including Ralph Lauren, Victoria's Secret, Calvin Klein, Donna Karan, and Estee Lauder, to create branded video content. I didn't want to just do fashion. I wanted to tell bigger stories, which led me to doing brand positioning pieces for the Harvard School for Public Health, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, Radio City Music Hall, the Martha Graham Dance Company, and many others outside of fashion. After a Ralph Lauren show, I was approached by Dean Stadel, a professor at Parsons, who asked me if I would be a guest lecturer in his class. I did, and loved doing it. He asked me back every semester for 4 years. Dean asked me to develop a course that I could teach on a regular basis. My goal was to create a class that I would want to attend. Creative Careers started in 2007 and has been fully booked every semester. Each week, I interview and my students ask questions of high-profile speakers with successful creative careers and listen to them talk about what they do, how they do it, and the obstacles they've had to overcome. The objective is to break down the walls of perceived differences between businesses, from fashion to visual arts to the startup world and everything in between, and give students a candid, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like to build a creative career. These are the strategies that they will need to one day achieve their goals and to sustain them or help them shift strategy when things aren't working. My guests' careers are quite diverse, but the creative and business processes they describe are often strikingly similar. Whether they've founded a startup, created a niche as a visual artist, or became famous for their unique, disruptive ideas, their cumulative advice reveals patterns, universal protocols, and best practices for making a living with your ideas. I recognize the same patterns in my own journey. Everything I've experienced informed what I did next. The skills I used as a designer translated directly into the film industry. I had to come up with a creative idea, be able to communicate it clearly to others, figure out the